Hey friends, welcome back to Country Legacy. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make easy, hearty breakfast burritos. These are perfect for busy mornings, meal prepping ahead, or even serving as a cozy brunch with the family. We're using fresh veggies, fluffy eggs, savory sausage, and a melty cheese, all wrapped up in a warm tortilla. So I'm also going to show you how I freeze these burritos, how I package them, and how I reheat them. I'll also explain to you the different ways that you can modify this recipe to change it up in so many different ways. Let me show you how easy and simple these are to make. So I'll get started by frying my sausage first. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to use 2 pounds of breakfast sausage. And you can use other kinds of meat like ham or bacon. There's just a lot of different kinds of meat that you could use for this. So I'll get this burner on and get my sausage in here. And I'll take and break this up really good. I buy this sausage over in Fremont, Michigan at an Amish store. They raise the pork organically, and they don't put nitrates or anything bad in it. So far, this is my favorite of all of the more organic type pork sausages that I've had. And my husband likes it too, so it works well for us. All right, I'm just gonna let this brown, and then I'll come back and chop it up a little bit more. But for now, I'm gonna go work on the vegetables. I went down to the garden and I grabbed a pepper that was turning red. I thought that would add a nice color contrast to this burrito. And then I grabbed a red onion from the garden, and then I have a part of another onion because I'm certain it's probably gonna take more. Altogether, this recipe calls for 2 cups of vegetables. I'm doing the double batch, so I'll be using 4 cups. Okay, I'll get these onions out of the way for right now. And then I'll show you a simple way that I cut up my green peppers with the least amount of effort. So I just come in at the top, really close to the stem, and then I just go around like that. And I'll just keep working my way around the pepper. And I go at kind of an angle so that I miss the seeds inside, and I'm still getting the majority of the pepper. And then I just chop that bottom off. And there was just a few seeds that came out, and I see just in this pepper, there's just a few. I found this to be a lot faster than the other methods that I've tried. And I'm going to dice these pretty fine. We like the flavor of green pepper, but we don't like great big chunks of it in our burrito. I think it'll be fun having this bright red color in there. And you can use some jalapeños if you like a spicy burrito. I really think that would taste good. I have tried it in the past, but I think I'm not going to do it this time just because I'm making such a large batch. I'd hate to have it too hot with making so many. There, we got the green peppers done. This is a little onion, but it'll be fun to have this purple color in here. And again, I'm gonna dice these really little too. These kind of onions are kind of strong, so I don't like big pieces of them in there. It's so convenient this time of year to be able just to go down to the garden and pick whatever vegetables I need. If they weren't in season, I would just use some of my freeze-dried onions. I should freeze-dry some of these purple ones. And now I got some Spanish onions chopped up. It calls for 2 cups, and I did double that because I'm doing a double batch. Okay, so the recipe calls for 8 eggs. A trick I learned a while back is if you ever get eggshell in with your egg, just take a piece of your eggshell and go in there and it will easily come out. And so I grabbed a whisk and I'll whisk these up really good. All right, got these whisked up. And then the next ingredient is 1/3 cup of milk or heavy cream, and 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. You can put other spices in at this time if you want. I'm just gonna keep mine kind of simple. Some people use smoked paprika. I got that mixed together pretty good, so I'll get them over on the stove and get them cooking. All right, so the sausage is looking nice and brown. I feel like sausage tastes so much better when it's nice and brown. At this stage, this is when you would drain your sausage now that it's nice and brown, but as you can see, I don't need to do it because it's already pretty dry. All right, I'll get this off, get it out of the way so we can get our eggs going. All right, let's get the skillet on. I'll start it at medium high and then I'm going to turn it all the way down to low once the butter melts. It calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. I know I keep saying I'm putting double in here, but I don't want you to get confused thinking I put too much in. So it seems like every recipe I do, I'm doubling, tripling, and sometimes even more because it just saves so much time. And because I'm freezing some of these, why not make a lot while I'm doing it? Do any of you like to meal prep and make extra when you cook? Let me know in the comments if you do. At this point, I'm going to turn it down to low. I like to cook my eggs low and slow, especially using cast iron. I know some of you don't like the idea of using cast iron, but this skillet is actually seasoned pretty well, so I think it'll do just fine. I don't usually have any problems with it. So I'll just pour in my scrambled eggs in here. Typically you'd use a bigger skillet. So what I do is I just keep scraping the bottom periodically. And I'll come back here when they're almost done and show you at what point I turn them off. While our eggs are cooking, I'll get this skillet on so that we can saute our vegetables. Put about a tablespoon of oil in here. Then we'll get our vegetables in there. And you can put mushrooms or even olives. There's so many different things that you can put in here. And I'll just saute these until the onions are translucent. I like my green peppers to still be a little bit crunchy. If you do not, I would recommend putting your green peppers in ahead of time and sauteing your green peppers first and then add your onions. I like to cook my eggs until they're just barely done because then they hold all the ingredients together better in the burrito, and they're going to continue to cook more in the skillet as well as whenever we warm them up in the tortilla. So I'm going to get these off. All right, these vegetables are done as well. They're somewhat translucent. Some of them are getting quite brown, but that will taste good. So I'll get these off. Okay, so I got all of my ingredients over here on the counter. So unfortunately, I didn't have time to make homemade tortillas. I buy these through Azure Standard, but to take these over the top, I think if you make homemade tortillas, it would taste even better. I did warm these up so they don't break up so easy. So I'll start by putting some eggs in here, and then some sausage, and then some sauteed vegetables. And we'll put the cheese on top, and you can just put as much or as little as you like. Rich likes a lot of cheese, so I'll put plenty on there. And then we'll get this rolled up. We'll turn over the sides. And then I'll kind of pull the ingredients back a little bit and then finish rolling it. And then I'll put it seam side down on the plate. All right, the burritos are all ready to cook. I'm only gonna cook a couple tonight. I'll keep a couple out for tomorrow, and then the rest will go in the freezer to cook later. All right, so I'll get this skillet turned back on, and I'll put some oil in the pan to brown the burritos on. You don't have to have the oil, but I just like the flavor of it better having the oil on it. I'm gonna turn this up to about medium high because I want it up high enough to brown fairly quickly. And you wanna wait till your oil gets good and warm before you put your burrito in there. Okay, I'm gonna set this down in the oil. You just do that very carefully. And then we'll just watch for it to turn nice and golden brown. By putting the seam side down to start cooking it, it will help keep that open side closed up. And I'll take a peek here and see. I could use a little bit more. Just keep a close eye on it. Well, that looks pretty good. I'll get that flipped over. It's nice and toasty brown. I think I will kind of do the edges of these. That is looking so good. All right, there we go. That looks good. I'm gonna do one more. Now we get to try them. All right, it's time to give these a try. Wow, there is a lot of flavor packed into that burrito. The sausage is so flavorful. And then the combination of the cheese and the vegetables and the eggs, it just takes this burrito right over the top. There's so many things that you could add to this, like sour cream, picante sauce, taco sauce. The list just goes on and on. I really like frying the burrito like I did because it makes the edges kind of crispy and it just adds to the flavor, because when you take a bite, there's kind of a crunch. And then there's the soft inside. So if you've never done it this way, I would recommend giving it a try. Okay, so now it's time to get all the rest of these burritos wrapped. So I'll start by getting some parchment paper out. And I'll lay a burrito on here and I'll just roll this up. Tuck in these ends to protect them. Kind of like we did to wrap up the burrito. There we go. It makes it faster if you rip all your papers ahead of time. And just put your burrito in there and then just start tightly rolling it. Leaving it a little bit longer on the edges helps because you can roll the ends easier. So now I have the silicone bag that I labeled breakfast burritos and I put the date on it. And I'm just gonna slide each of these burritos inside of this bag. And that will also help keep them protected. And by them being individually wrapped, it'll make it easier to just grab one burrito out and they won't all be froze together. Wow, that was a perfect amount for this. I'm going to be able to get the top closed without any problems. And there you have it, friends. Beautiful golden breakfast burritos, all wrapped up and in a freezer bag, ready to be frozen. And all we have to do is pull them out of the freezer, let them thaw in the refrigerator, and then we'll fry them up just the same as what we did today. I love how you can customize these burritos. You can change them up in so many different ways. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend, and also subscribe if you have not already. And before you go, in the comments below, let me know what your favorite go-to breakfast recipes are. I would love to hear your ideas. Thank you so much for spending time with me today in my kitchen. I appreciate each and every one of you that takes time to watch my videos. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.